Most people think October is the end of the gardening season. You know, that point where you just rake up the leaves, stack your empty pots, and say, well, that's it for the year. But here's the thing. It's not the end at all. It's actually one of the smartest months to start over again. Because while everyone else is packing up their tools and heading inside, the quiet, clever gardeners, the ones who seem to always have something growing, they're out here sowing the crops that truly love the chill. And today, I'm showing you exactly what to plant right now. 15 vegetables and herbs that don't just survive a late October planting. They genuinely thrive in it. Oh, and stick around till the end, because there's one herb on this list that practically grows itself all winter long. Most gardeners don't even realize how powerful it is, but you will. Hey friends, welcome back to Serene Green Gardens. It's always so good having you here. If you're new to the channel, well, first off, you're in for a treat. Around here, we keep gardening simple, affordable, and honestly, peaceful. No expensive gadgets, no overly complicated setups, just real, down-to-earth gardening that actually works. So, if that sounds like your kind of space, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you never miss our weekly tips. We've got plenty more ways to keep your garden thriving without breaking the bank. Here's the thing about late October. It's not the end of the gardening season. It's more like a reset. The soil still holds a bit of that lingering summer warmth. The air is cool and calm, and most of the insect pests that drove you crazy all summer, they've finally packed up and left. This is the perfect window when cool weather crops can quietly take over. The hardy greens, the herbs that don't mind a chill, the roots that grow slow but steady. The trick is just knowing what to sow right now, so your garden doesn't just sit empty and dormant all winter long. You want it alive, feeding your soil, building strength, and then bursting into life once spring rolls back around. And don't worry, you don't need a fancy greenhouse or an expensive setup. No complicated gear, no big budget, just a few packets of seeds, some containers if you have them, and a little bit of patience. That's really all it takes. All right, let's kick things off with one of the easiest and most rewarding crops you can get in the ground right now, spinach. I always say spinach is that friend who shows up no matter what the weather is doing. It doesn't care if the mornings are cold or if the sun's getting a little shy. It just keeps on growing. In fact, here's the secret. Most folks don't realize spinach actually tastes better after it's been kissed by a little bit of frost. That chill in the air brings out this natural sweetness in the leaves that you just don't get in the heat of summer. And the best part? It's fast. You can sow it in containers, in raised beds, or even in old buckets you've got lying around. Within a few short weeks, you'll have tender baby leaves, ready for picking, fresh, crisp, and packed with nutrients. So, if you're looking for a low-effort win to keep your garden feeling alive this late in the season, start with spinach. It's one of those crops that quietly rewards you while everyone else thinks gardening is over. Next up, lettuce mixes. Now this one's a quiet overachiever. You can toss a handful of mixed seeds into a pot or a small raised bed. Give it a little love and water. And within a few weeks, you've got this lush, beautiful carpet of greens that just keeps on giving. What I love about mixed lettuces is how incredibly forgiving they are. You don't have to wait for a perfect, full head to form. You just go out and snip what you need for a salad, and the rest keeps growing back. That's the magic of the cut and come again style. It's perfect if you're short on space, or you just don't want to fuss over complicated harvest schedules. You can grow them right outside your kitchen door, or even on a sunny balcony. And when that first real chill hits, lettuce doesn't sulk. It actually thrives. The cooler air keeps the leaves tender and mild, not bitter, like they can get in the summer heat. So, if you want something fresh, simple, and steady to harvest through the cold weeks ahead, sow a mix of lettuces. It's like having your own mini salad bar right on standby. All right, let's talk about kale. This plant is the absolute definition of tough love. You can ignore it for days, you can hit it with cold nights, even a bit of frost, and it just shrugs it off like, is that all you've got? Kale actually enjoys the cold. The cooler it gets, the sweeter and crisper the leaves become. It's a real transformation. And it's one of those crops that just keeps on giving. You harvest a few of the lower outer leaves, and new ones will quietly push right through the center. You can be cutting kale for months without ever having to replant. And it doesn't need much space either. A deep pot, a corner of your garden bed, a little patch near the back fence. It'll settle in just about anywhere, as long as it gets a decent bit of sun. So, if you want a vegetable that asks for very little but gives a whole lot back, plant kale. It's sturdy, beautiful, and just plain reliable. Kind of like that one friend who always shows up when you need them. And right alongside kale, you have to consider Swiss chard. It's just as tough and just as happy in the cool weather, but it brings this incredible pop of color to the fall garden. Those neon pink, yellow, and red stems look like jewels when everything else is starting to fade. It's another cut and come again hero. You take the outer stalks, and the plant just keeps producing from the center. And if you're working with limited space, maybe just a few containers or a small raised bed, chard is perfect. It doesn't take over, but it definitely makes its presence known. It thrives in cooler weather, bounces back after a frost, and honestly, it's one of those plants that makes you feel like you've got your gardening life together. So, if you want color, nutrition, and something that just quietly does its job, plant Swiss chard. It's beauty and practicality all in one. Mid-video CTA? If these easygoing, no-fuss fall crops are speaking your language, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We've got more simple, low-cost gardening tips coming your way every single week. Let's talk about the real October classic, garlic. If there is one crop that deserves a spot in every single fall garden, this is it. Garlic is that quiet worker. You plant it in the cool soil of autumn, and then you almost forget about it until one warm summer morning when you pull up those big, beautiful, perfect bulbs and feel like an absolute gardening genius. The timing couldn't be better either. Late October is prime garlic planting season. The soil is cool, but it's not frozen. The moisture is just right, and the cloves settle in nicely for their long winter sleep. Here's how simple it is. You take a healthy bulb of garlic, you split it into its individual cloves, you plant each one pointy side up about 2 inches deep, and then you cover it. And you walk away. That's it. No greenhouse, no special care, just patience. Over the next few months, those cloves will quietly form roots and start building up strength underground. By next summer, you'll be harvesting your own homegrown garlic, rich, flavorful, and absolutely nothing like the bland, dry stuff from the store. Honestly, once you grow it yourself, you'll never go back. All right, next up, onions. But not just any onions. For a late-season planting, I'm talking about the multiplier types, or my personal favorite, the Egyptian walking onions. These ones are a bit special. Once you plant them, they pretty much take care of themselves. Seriously, you plant them one time, and they'll keep coming back year after year. Like dependable old friends, the multiplier onions, or shallots, form clusters underground. You harvest a few, you leave a few in the ground, and they just keep on multiplying. The Egyptian walking onions, they're even wilder. They grow little bulbs or bulbils at the top of their green stalks. When those get heavy, the stalk bends down, touches the soil, and replants itself. Hence the name. They literally walk across your garden over the years. It's one of those crops that just makes you smile because it feels like nature's doing all the work for you. Plant them this fall, and by next season, you'll have a patch that feeds you again and again without you having to do much of anything. It's like a self-sustaining onion patch, the gift that keeps on giving. Now, if you're the kind of gardener who loves to see quick results, this one's for you. Radishes. The radish is that one crop that truly rewards impatience. You plant it, you blink twice, and it's ready. Well, almost. Most varieties are harvest ready in under a month. That's faster than most people can decide what to cook for dinner. And they're perfect for this time of year because they love cool weather. The summer heat makes them spicy and woody, but the fall chill keeps the roots crisp. The flavor gets milder, and the colors, those deep reds and pinks, pop beautifully against the fall soil. They don't ask for much either. A bit of loose soil, some steady moisture, and they're off to the races. You can even tuck them in between slower growing crops, like your new garlic, to make the most of every square inch. And honestly, there's something deeply satisfying about pulling up those bright little roots just weeks after planting. It's like your garden's way of saying, see, you don't always have to wait forever for good things. Now let's talk about carrots, the quiet achievers of the fall garden. Here's the deal with carrots. They don't like to be rushed. They're not flashy like a tomato. They just ask that you give them what they need, deep, loose soil, so they can grow down, a little bit of moisture, and they'll handle the rest in silence. If you sow them now in late October and keep the soil damp while they germinate, you'll have crisp, sweet roots waiting for you by winter. In many zones, you can just leave them in the ground and harvest as you need them. But let's be honest, carrots just have this calming effect. You ever notice how they make you feel like you actually know what you're doing? They just sit there underground, doing their thing. No drama, no fuss, no complaints. Every time I pull one up, I get this little moment of simple satisfaction. Like, yep, I grew that. We need more crops like carrots, the kind that teach you patience while quietly rewarding you. All right, moving into the herb zone. Let's start with cilantro. This one is a cool weather lover, through and through. If you've ever tried growing cilantro in the heat of July, you know the struggle. It shoots up, it flowers or bolts, and suddenly it's all gone. But in the fall, it's a whole different story. Cilantro actually thrives when the air cools down. It grows slower, much steadier, and the flavor deepens and turns richer. That bright, citrusy freshness that makes everything taste better. You can sow it directly in the soil or in a wide, shallow container. Keep it slightly moist, and it'll reward you for weeks and weeks. You can harvest the leaves as they come in, or let a few plants go a little longer for fresh coriander seeds later on. And the best part? No constant babysitting, no bolting in a week. Just calm, happy cilantro doing its thing while the rest of the garden winds down. It's one of those herbs that quietly proves fall gardening is seriously underrated. Next up is parsley. This is the little green powerhouse that just doesn't know when to quit. This is the herb I teased at the beginning. Once it gets going, it keeps producing for months. Seriously, it's like the Energizer Bunny of the herb garden. You plant it once in the fall, give it a bit of water and light, and that's it. It's a biennial, which means it has a 2-year life cycle. A fall planting means it'll establish its roots, hang on all winter long in many zones, and then burst back to life in early spring, long before anything else is growing. And the flavor, deep, clean, and slightly sweet. Perfect for soups, stews, or just tossing on top of whatever you're cooking. Parsley is one of those herbs that quietly proves consistency beats flash. It doesn't scream for attention like basil or mint, but it's always there when you need it. And because it handles cool weather like a champ, you can count on it long after most herbs have called it